Hey guys, welcome back to Topical Nate here, and today I'm playing Over or Under for adventure movies because The Lost City is coming out, and it has some famous people in it. But before we do that, scroll down to the description box below, pop it open, you'll find links to our social media accounts where you can help make Strange Wang internet famous. I don't really care about being internet famous, but click on those links, give us a follow on there. We also have links to our coffee account and our Patreon account if you'd like to help support our channel financially. We'd greatly appreciate that, so check them out.
I can do without fame. Just make me rich. That's all I want. Give me some monies. First movie, one near and dear to your heart, The Last Crusade.
So I am going to say that The Last Crusade is actually underrated. And the reason being is because there are so many people that are just like incredibly adamant that Raiders is just like the way people talk about it. They talk about Raiders like it's just like head and shoulders above The Last Crusade. I disagree. Raiders is a near perfect movie. I think The Last Crusade is a near perfect movie as well. It definitely gets plenty of love and respect, so I'm definitely not saying that it is like incredibly underrated. But since it always draws that comparison to Raiders and people always just try to say Raiders is so much better, then I'm going to say it's underrated.
El Dorado.
El Dorado. I think it's perfectly rated. I mean, I don't think that anyone's really talking about it anymore. Like it was fun. It's definitely a product of its time. But yeah, I mean, I think it's right where it needs to be.
Romancing the Stone, which is basically a remix of what Lost City is, I think.
Yeah. I'm going to say I think Romancing the Stone is a touch underrated. It is actually one hell of an adventure movie. It has those kind of like earlier, like, well, it's a Zemeckis film, and early Zemeckis is basically Spielberg light, and Romancing the Stone 100% just has like those great like adventure vibes that those 80s and 90s Spielberg and Zemeckis films had. I don't like in my circle of like non-movie people, I don't know that I know anyone who has really seen or is even aware of Romancing the Stone's existence. And I think that most people who watch it would actually really, really enjoy it because it is just such a fun and accessible movie.
Conan the Barbarian. The original, not the remake with Count Drago.
I figured. I think Conan's perfectly rated. I think that it falls kind of in that cult level of just those old like fantasy adventure type films. You know, I think it gets shouted out every once in a while. It isn't completely buried in the rubble of movie history. It is also an incredibly campy movie, and that doesn't make it bad at all, hence like the cult following. So I think it's like a perfect place for it. I don't think it's a movie that we're ever going to forget about. I also don't think it's one that we need to be lifting up on this massive pedestal. So in its little like cult status, I think it's perfectly rated.
A movie very similar to Conan the Barbarian. Disney's The Emperor's New Groove.
I'm going to say perfectly rated. Part of me also almost wants to say a touch overrated just because of how many memes have just spewed from it. It's like, it's just in your face. There's so many. And like TikTok sounds and all that stuff. But I still think it's perfectly rated. Emperor's New Groove, the longer it has existed, I think the more its fan base has snowballed and its appreciation has grown. If you had asked me, like, you know, the year that it came out, then I would have said it's underrated. But I do think that Emperor's New Groove should be cemented as an animated classic. That movie is very fun.
That shit's been Disney's top 5 since 03, son. Next, we got Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle.
Ooh. That one's tough. Okay, so I'm going to say I think it's just a touch underrated. The reason being, I don't hear anyone talk about it a whole lot anymore. And very few movies, like very few modern movies. So when I say modern, I'm talking 2010 to now. very few movies in that era have actually made me like consistently laugh out loud multiple times throughout the movie. Me and Strange Wang, I went with him to see this. I was so against it at first because I love the original Jumanji so much, and I was mad that they switched it to a video game thing and that like they're doing this different stuff with it. Biggest surprise of that year for me. I laughed out loud multiple times throughout the film. It is hilarious, and the adventure aspects of it actually really kind of hit on some of those like old school adventure movie vibes. So I just don't think it's a movie that should be forgotten. And we just get so many movies now that I know it's kind of hard to keep that from happening. But for that reason, I will say a touch underrated.
The original Jumanji.
That one's hard. I'm gonna say that I think it's perfectly rated in like the cultural zeitgeist of film, because to 90s kids, to a lot of us, that's a very important movie. Because it did this, it blended all the adventure elements. It added, I don't know if necessarily horror stuff is the right way, but like that movie, it was very tense. Like even for a PG-13 movie in the 90s, the constant peril that the characters are in throughout the entire film, it doesn't really let up. Like the moments of brevity, they come and you appreciate them, but that movie is kind of nonstop in terms of having the characters in dangerous situations. So it was definitely an important film for me in showing me how important keeping conflict and tension throughout a film is. It is also plagued by some really bad CGI monkeys, some script issues, but I still love it very much so. So I think it's perfect.
Jurassic World.
Jurassic World is, in my personal opinion, incredibly overrated. Because there's some people who really, really liked that movie. Maybe I'm just too much of a Jurassic Park purist. I think Jurassic Park is easily top 10 movies of all time. I think it is a perfect movie. I love everything about it. There's nothing that I would change about Jurassic Park. 2 and 3 were not good films. I really just wanted them to leave the Jurassic Park franchise alone. I was not excited when I heard Jurassic World was coming out. I was not excited to see that Chris Pratt was going to be involved in it. And the movie came out, and it wasn't bad, but I definitely do not think that it was nearly as good as how some people try to say that it is, although it is definitely better than Jurassic Park 2 and 3.
Are you excited now that they're bringing Alan back?
Yeah, I am like a touch excited about that. I hope that it doesn't feel too campy, and I hope that like the script still serves the original characters well. And in the trailer, like the teaser that we saw from the Super Bowl, he did not do a super great job of hiding his incredibly Scottish accent. So I'm just interested to see how that's going to work out. But yeah, I'm still excited to see Dr. Allen and Dr. Sadler and Dr. Malcolm back on it.
I was just hoping one of the actors say, Alan! Last but not least, probably your favorite movie of all time, if I have to guess.
Wow.
Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Oh. No, it's perfectly rated. Everyone knows that movie's trash. It's terrible. It's a plague on the Indiana Jones franchise.
Can I throw a wrench in there?
Go for it.
Fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, so you said it's trash. But yeah, it's fresh on Rotten Tomatoes.
I understand. Okay, well, so back to my very first point that I made about Last Crusade. When you have multiple films in a franchise, it's only natural to compare them to each other to an extent. So when you compare Crystal Skull to any of the other Indiana Jones movies, comparatively it is trash. I will say I don't think that it is as bad as like a lot of people give it shit for, but I still think it's perfectly rated. I think there's kind of a mutual agreement among the majority of people who are fans of movies in that we just kind of pretend that that one doesn't exist. And that is, in my opinion, where it belongs. So that is what I think about the rating level of all of those movies we just mentioned. Let me know what you think about them down in the comment section below. Scroll back up, hit the like button, please, and subscribe.
It's not a game, it's a rich thing.